Welcome back. Welcome. Mr. Bitcoin Maxi. We're all Bitcoin Maxi. So today, hit the record button. I know you guys like these vlog style videos. And before we get into it, I want to thank everybody. I woke up this morning. I went from like 37 subs to almost 50 now. And so I want to thank you guys that have hit that subscribe button, and really 4 days into making YouTube. I appreciate you guys so much. I want to grow a community of Bitcoin maxis. And so, yeah, every time you guys subscribe, you guys help push the algorithm and help us to grow this community, which I really want. Now, how to build a simple Bitcoin investment plan. All right. Now, this is something that I wish I did. And so I didn't have anybody to tell me how to build a Bitcoin investment plan, right? It's like, where do you start? And I wanted to make this video because this is something that I wish I would have done. So the first thing, you have to look at where your money is going, okay? Because knowing where your money is going is very important. That includes bills, includes rent, mortgage, okay? And so if you don't have anybody, if you're not good at doing that type of stuff, the best thing you can do is find somebody reputable and pay them, okay? Or you can do it yourself, okay? And just create a spreadsheet and download your bank statement and see where all your money is going. That's the most important thing. The second thing, all right, on how to build this Bitcoin investment plan is don't buy Bitcoin just yet. Take the time to study Bitcoin and what it is, how does it work, how does the coding work? And I'm going to come out with videos on this channel about it. So I'm going to help you guys along the way, okay? So like I said, I know you guys like these vlog style videos. However, I also do educational videos for you guys because it took me hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and days and months to figure out what Bitcoin was. Even though I was buying it while I was studying it, I was still trying to educate myself on what it is. So the best thing you can do is figure out what Bitcoin is. And this goes for even if you've been buying Bitcoin, okay? No matter where you're at in your Bitcoin journey, whether you're a new investor to Bitcoin or whether you've been investing into Bitcoin, I really recommend everybody to take these steps, all right? And the next part of the Bitcoin investment plan is to understand that when you buy it, the price can fluctuate. So not overspending your budget on Bitcoin. So the first thing you got to figure out is where your money's going. And then the second thing is you got to figure out what Bitcoin is. And the third thing you got to figure out is how much you have out of that budget. And then also where you can save from that budget. All right. So you cutting your expenses pretty much. Cutting your expenses down. Maybe you're buying, extra food or snacks that you really don't need that aren't good for you. Health is also wealth, right? And I'm a big believer in that. I'm 36 years old, almost 37. And so I take my health very seriously. So I try not to buy stuff that isn't good for me, right? Because the junk food, the snacks, all that stuff goes into our mental health. And then so when you're also saving that money and not buying junk, like hot Cheetos and stuff like that and candy, which isn't really good for you. I'm not saying don't never buy it. But, if you're going to buy it, just know that you could be using that money to save on your health, but also save it into Bitcoin, right? And just buy fruits and vegetables, which is also good for your mental health. Mental health is a big thing a lot of people don't talk about in finances, right? Because the more you're stressed, the more, you're going to make bad decisions. And I know from personal experience, all right? Especially when it comes to investing. So the Bitcoin investment plan does include saving money and buying healthy food, because it's going to take a lot for you to understand Bitcoin. And understanding Bitcoin and what you're buying is also important in the investment plan. Another thing is make sure you get a cold hardware wallet. This is something that I wish I did in the beginning. I was leaving it on exchanges. However, when you leave it on an exchange, you're prone to getting hacked. So what I do, and I seen a subscriber ask what I thought was the best platform or which platform I buy from, I buy it from Robinhood. Okay, because you can buy like $1 through Robinhood, right? You can invest $1, $2, whatever, so you can keep adding to your stack. Okay, and then what I do is I send it to a cold storage wallet, a ledger. I recommend Ledger. I'll have it in the description if you guys want to buy a ledger, and then they give you free Bitcoin. You get up to $20. Sometimes it fluctuates. You can get, I believe, $30, $35 I've seen one time. So it fluctuates depending on when you buy a ledger. But if you guys want to, the option is there. It's free Bitcoin basically. And so, yeah, apologies for this car. You guys are probably going to hear this car going off, the alarm. But yeah, anyways, so a Bitcoin investment plan is very important for you to understand, because investing has to do with money, right? And where your money is going is very important to understand, because, you know, every day we're being constantly consumed by people trying to sell us stuff, people trying to, you know, the algorithm is very smart. You know, you ever notice that when you're going on, for example, you're searching for something on Google or Amazon to buy, right? The algorithm picks up on that because people target you and they're trying to get you to buy into different products and or services. So being disciplined is also part of the Bitcoin investment plan. You have to be disciplined and not give in to your desires, because when you give in to your desires, you might regret it later. Like, dang, why did I buy this, right? And then you might be beating yourself up because you're like, dang, I could have saved that money. But you have to also understand in the Bitcoin investment plan here that saving cash in the bank, you're losing money. And that's something that I wish I would have learned or knew in the beginning when I was just saving cash. Because when I was saving cash, what I always say is cash is trash, because it's constantly being inflated. They're constantly printing the money. And this is why everything's getting more expensive. And so leaving cash in the bank in a savings is just getting, you know, devalued pretty much. And so when you're investing into Bitcoin, another thing in the Bitcoin investment plan is you have to tell yourself, this is a long-term play. This isn't an overnight get rich quick scheme. You know, look at how long that the OGs in Bitcoin, look at now they're just finally dumping some of their Bitcoin stack and they still have a bunch, right? So that's another thing that you have to understand. Look at how long they've had to wait in order to sell and make a lot of the money that they're making now. They had to wait years and years and years, okay? So Bitcoin is not a get rich quick scheme. It's a long-term play. And so you have to understand we're just at $108,000 Bitcoin right now. So for the Bitcoin investment plan, you have to understand that it's going towards your financial future. It's going towards you not basically getting left behind in a world full of things getting more expensive, and they're going to keep getting more expensive. The Fed is most likely about to cut rates at the end of the year, and things are going to get more expensive. Things are definitely going to get more expensive, so you have to plan for these things. In the Bitcoin investment plan, you have to understand that you have to know what you're investing into, but at the same time, you have to build up your cash flow as well. So in the Bitcoin investment plan, a good thing to do is, everybody, you watching this, you're good at something. Everybody has a talent, right? My talent is probably, you know, different than yours, or it might be the same. However, you have to understand that there's a talent, and being disciplined also means that you can create different streams of income. And so when you're creating different streams of income, you're maximizing your cash flow so you can invest more into your future. And so if you have a 9-to-5, right? If you have a 9-to-5, right? Then what you can do is you can go and, you know, do something that you're good at, whether it's painting, you know, start painting, and then you can sell your paintings, whatever it is, start a side hustle. And so I have a friend, for example, that what he does, all he does is he saves his bottles, right? His water bottles, and in his like house, or the back of his house, right? He went to Home Depot, got trash cans, and then he puts his bottles into there. And so he takes that money from the bottles that he recycles, and he buys Bitcoin with it. That's one of his side hustles, right? Outside of his job. So things like that. So in this Bitcoin investment plan, find ways to get extra money. It's very important, because the more you find ways to get money, the more you're adding to your stack, the more you're securing your financial future, and you're not just stacking cash in the bank, okay? However, in the Bitcoin investment plan, another thing is important is you do want to keep cash reserves on the side, okay? Am I saying take all of your money out of savings? No, but you do want to have cash reserves on the side. And so that's important in the Bitcoin investment plan, is to make sure you have an emergency cash fund. Because when you sell your Bitcoin, right? Say you put all of your money, all of your savings that you have into Bitcoin. The issue is that if you need that money for an emergency, you're going to have to sell it, and then you're going to sell it at a loss, because exchanges have fees, right? So when you buy it, there's a fee. When you sell it, there's a fee. When you convert it, there's a fee. So understand, when you put money into Bitcoin, you have to make sure that you're being disciplined and you don't sell it. You don't have to sell it. You're not in a position to have to sell it. However, when you have a little bit of money extra left over, and say Bitcoin dips, buy a little bit more if you can. And then another important thing is not to be thinking that you can time the market. And that's something that I wish I knew. All right, something that I wish I realized, because I used to think that I could time the market and I couldn't. Say, for example, right now Bitcoin's at $108,000 and the Fed cuts the rates, and before we go up, I think we're going to go down. So instead of being like, oh, Bitcoin's on only $108,000 right now, right? It dipped hard. So I'm going to put a heap load of money into it. Well, the thing is that economics and world events play a big factor in Bitcoin's price. So when the Fed cuts rates, if Bitcoin goes down even more, you're like, dang, I could have bought it cheaper too. So you put like $500 that you had left over on the side, right, into Bitcoin when it dipped to 108, and that was all the cash reserves that you had to be able to put extra into Bitcoin on the dips, right? And then all of a sudden the Fed cuts rates and it goes down to like 98,000, for hypothetically speaking, right? And then you're like, dang, I could have bought it cheaper instead of throwing all that 500, right? So having a Bitcoin investment plan is very important, and this is something I want to share with you guys while I'm out here on my walk. And I want to tell you guys, this is things that I wish I knew, you know? And it's very important to build a plan, because everybody's financial situation, everybody's, life, what they got going on is different. Some people have 9-to-5s, some people are, they're self-employed, whatever. So you have to understand how much money is coming in, and at the same time where your money is going, where you can save, and then how much you can invest at the same time. So I'm going to come on and make this video. Again, I appreciate everybody to subscribe. Please consider hitting that subscribe button. And yeah, Mr. Bitcoin Maxi. We're all Bitcoin Maxis. And so let me know what you guys think in the comments about, are you guys currently in your Bitcoin journey, or where you guys are at in your Bitcoin journey, and let me know your guys' investment plans. Yeah. See you guys in the next one. Peace.